Part 2, Desert Detours and Royal Plot Twists. Fast forward through sand, SARS, and questionable real estate deals. I trailed Abraham under a midnight sky so clear, it looked photoshopped. He stared at the same stars I'd cataloged from orbit and heard a promise bigger than the universe. Descendants like grains of sand. I snorted into my thermos. Buddy, you don't even have one kid yet. But my pen trembled. I watched Isaac on the mountain. Wood stacked, knife raised. Abraham's hand shook, yet he trusted. I almost dropped my cloak and yelled, "Stop! Protocol be damned." The ram appeared instead, and I felt my reporter armor crack like cheap pottery. Then David, ruddy shepherd kid with a slingshot and zero chill, faced a 9-foot Philistine who looked like a protein shake commercial gone wrong. One stone, one giant thud, and the crowd lost their minds. I floated above the battlefield, invisible tears mixing with invisible rain. My notes that night were half commentary, half prayer. Kid just rewrote Underdog forever. Also, I think my heart just grew 3 sizes. By the time the kings, caves, and exiles blurred past, I wasn't filing neutral dispatches anymore. I was whispering, "Keep going. Please keep going." So let's go into part 2, the Desert Detours and Royal Plot Twists. Hello again, time jumpers and history lovers. It's me, Lara Voss, your friendly neighborhood time-traveling reporter from the year 3025. If you missed part 1, I just survived the biggest rainstorm in human history by hovering above Noah's floating zoo like a skeptical drone. I watched the rainbow stretch across the sky like God's own signature on a fresh start. My notes were supposed to stay cool and professional. Instead, I left that mountaintop with a tiny crack in my reporter armor and one dangerous question whispering in my head. What if the ridiculous really is the point? Well, buckle up. The floodwaters dried, the earth greened up, and humanity got busy again, spreading out, building cities, and somehow forgetting the lesson of the rainbow almost immediately. But God didn't forget his promise. He picked one ordinary man from a big family in a place called and said, "Leave everything behind. I'm sending you on a road trip with no map, no destination listed, and a promise so big it'll rewrite the future." That man was Abraham. I reset my coordinates and found myself floating above a vast desert under a midnight sky so clear it looked like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. Abraham, back then still called Abram, wasn't young. He was 75, with a wife named Starry, who had never been able to have children. They packed up tents, servants, livestock, and every belonging they owned, and they started walking because God said, "I will make you into a great nation. Your descendants will be as many of the stars you see tonight, and as countless as the sand under your feet." I hovered silently above their little caravan, invisible shimmer against the stars scribbling. Subject, Abram. Mood, equal parts terror and trust. Smell, camel sweat and campfire smoke. Side note, this man just left his retirement plan for a promise he can't even see yet. Bold or crazy? Maybe both. Years rolled by like desert dunes. I watched them wander through Canaan, down into Egypt during a famine, back again. Still no baby. Sarah laughed when she overheard the promise again. Bitter, heartbroken laughter. Me? A mother at 90? But God wasn't joking. He even changed their names. Abraham, father of many, and Sarah, princess. I floated above their tent one night and heard Abraham talking to God like an old friend. "Lord, you promised me a son. I'm almost 100. How exactly is this supposed to work?" God answered with the same calm certainty. "Is anything too hard for me?" Then came the night I'll never forget. Abraham took his beloved son Isaac, the miracle baby who finally arrived when everyone had given up a mountain called Moriah. God had said, "Take your only son, the one you love, and offer him as a sacrifice." My stomach dropped. I followed them up the rocky path, heart hammering inside my cloaking field. Abraham built the altar with steady hands. He tied Isaac down. The boy asked, "Father, where is the lamb?" And Abraham answered with a voice that cracked but didn't break, "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." The knife rose. I almost dropped my invisibility and screamed, "Stop! Protocol be blasted." Then at the very last second, a ram appeared, caught in the thicket, horns tangled like it had been waiting there all along. Abraham untied his son, sacrificed the ram instead, and named that place "The Lord Will Provide." I hovered there, tears mixing with the desert dust on my invisible cheeks. And my notes that day wasn't clever at all. They just said, "A father willing to give up everything, and a God who provides instead." My reporter shield just shattered a little more. Fast forward again. The family line kept going, through Isaac's twin boys, Jacob and Esau. Jacob was the trickster, the heel grabber, the one who stole the birthright and the blessing. I watched him run for his life, sleep on a stone pillow under the stars, and dream of a ladder reaching from the earth to the heaven with angels climbing up and down. God met him there and said, "I am with you. I will not leave you." Jacob woke up and whispered, "Surely the Lord is in this place." I did not know it. Even I, the future skeptic, felt the hair on my arm stand up. Jacob became Israel. 12 sons, 12 tribes. One of them, Joseph, was his favorite. Bright coat, big dreams, and a whole lot of sibling jealousy. His brothers sold him into slavery like he was yesterday's leftovers. I trailed that caravan down to Egypt, watching a heartbroken father mourn and a betrayed boy get thrown into prison. But God was still writing the story. Joseph interpreted dreams for a king, rose to a second in command, and when famine hit, he saved the very brothers who had sold him. I stood invisible in Pharaoh's court as Joseph said to them, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." My pen was shaking by then. Some bloodline, I wrote, some crazy faithfulness, betrayal, prison, palace, and still God turns ashes into rescue. Centuries blurred. The family grew into a nation, slaves now, under a new Pharaoh who didn't remember Joseph. I watched them cry out under heavy bricks and whips. Then a baby named Moses floated down the Nile in a basket, rescued by a princess, raised in a palace, and later called by a burning bush that wasn't consumed. "I Am has sent me to you," God told him. 10 plagues later, frogs, locusts, blood, darkness, and finally the Passover lamb whose blood on the doorpost meant death passed over. The people walked out of Egypt on dry ground, while the Red Sea swallowed Pharaoh's army. I floated above that escaping crowd, sandals slapping wet sand, and my notes turned into something halfway between reporting and worship. Underdogs keep winning. Slaves become free. A stuttering shepherd leads a nation. This line isn't just surviving, it's singing. Then came the wilderness, 40 years of manna, quail, and learning to trust one day at a time. Finally, a new generation crossed the Jordan on dry ground again. Jericho's walls fell with shouts and trumpets, not siege engines. I watched a shepherd boy named David, ruddy cheeks, harp in one hand, slingshot in the other, face a 9-foot Philistine giant who looked like a protein shake commercial gone wrong. Goliath mocked the whole army. David ran straight at him, shouting, "You come with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts." One smooth stone, one giant thud, the crowd lost their minds. I hovered above the battlefield, invisible tears streaming, and laughed at the sobs. That kid just rewrote Underdog forever. Also, I think my heart just grew 3 sizes and learned a new rhythm. Kings rose and fell. David became king, messed up, repented, wrote psalms that still echoed through time. Solomon built a temple so beautiful it made heaven touch earth for a moment. Then division, exile, prophets crying in the wilderness, return to the Lord. I watched it all. Caves where kings hid, altars rebuilt, hearts broken and mended. By the time the dust of empire settled and the people waited under foreign rule, I wasn't filing neutral dispatches anymore. My glowing notepad was half commentary, half whispered prayers. I caught myself saying out loud, "Keep going. Please keep going." This is ridiculous, beautiful, and a painful line, and it's leading somewhere I can't look away from. I came here to watch a genealogy. It said I'm falling in love with the God who keeps showing up in deserts, in prisons, in battles, and in impossible promises. So here I am, still cloaked, still from 3025, but my sarcasm is quieter now, and my wonder is louder. The stage is set for a quiet carpenter in Nazareth who will turn everything upside down. So stay with me for part 3, because the line is about to reach its crescendo. And this reporter, she's no longer just watching. I'm Alara Boss, heart wide open, cloak flickering, already whispering thank you to a story that's rewriting me too. See you on the other side of the Jordan, or rather, on the other side of a humble manger.